Pretty much. All right, we will call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Please make sure you had a chance to sign in at the sign-in sheet, especially if you wish to talk about something that is on the agenda. You can talk about it at that time if you have signed in. Otherwise, if you wish to talk about something that is not on the agenda, there is a general comments at the end of the meeting, which if you signed up, you can speak about. So we are going to start off this evening by recognizing 3 retirements. So I'll call your name, we'll come up, we'll take a picture, and then you'll get a chance to introduce everybody that's with you. And also, you get one last chance to tell us what you think about whatever you want. You've earned it, right? So, we're going to start out with Mary Wicker. Mary's been with the corporation for 21 years. Congratulations. We got to get our picture taken. I'm sorry for this is the I survived the fair refugee look, kind of. So. All right, Mary, tell us who's with you.
No one, actually. No, my best friend Nancy Thomas. All of my girls that were raised in Rockville through Rockville schools do not live in Rockville anymore. So they've all found their paths elsewhere, and we're obviously busy in the middle of the week. So, but yeah, Nancy is my best friend, and this will be where I travel, and we'll just take out and go. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the years. I think Jane, 26 years ago, I think you brought me a pan of lasagna for my first meal at Rockville when we moved here. So, you're right, and I do appreciate everything.
Congratulations. Anything else you want to say? This is your chance to say whatever.
I think I could say it all, but I can tell my story, but I'll spare you all.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next is Lori Brown. Been with us for 27 years. There you go. Congratulations, Lori. Who do you have with you today?
So I have my husband Andrew with me there, and he's been a faithful supporter, and even though he complains about having to sit on the front row of drama plays and concerts and all that stuff, he does enjoy it, even though he won't admit it. But anyway, so I appreciate his support, and our kids couldn't make it tonight. We had a separate family thing earlier, so they're not here tonight, but it's been a good journey. It's not what I expected. When my son Colin was going into first grade, I was working part-time at the Herald News newspaper, and his teacher asked me if I would be willing to work or come in and volunteer and listen to kids read. And I thought, yeah, that could be good. So I enjoyed that. So when my son Gavin was going into kindergarten, the library position came open, and I thought, I'm gonna try for that. I love reading to kids, listening to kids read. And so I did that, and I was thinking, when he graduates from high school, I will find a communications job again. Well, it's been a few years since he graduated, and I'm still here. But communications jobs just kind of kept coming to me. The newspaper, the school board at the time wanted somebody to do the newspaper, so I said I could do that. So I started taking pictures and submitting stories. And then Craig Newby talked me into doing the yearbook, and I was like, I don't know yearbook. I did newspaper. I don't know yearbook. And he's like, you'll be fine. And luckily I had girls that were willing to help me through it. And so between all 3 schools, Turkey Run High School, Turkey Run Elementary, and Park Heritage Middle School, which I got talked into doing, I did 22 yearbooks, which I'm proud of. And thing I'm proud of too is that 3 of the girls that were on my yearbook staff are now photographers as side gigs, and so that's something that I'm really proud of. And I want to thank Vicki Hardison for helping me with the middle school yearbook, because when they asked me to do it, I don't know the kids, I can't do it. And they're like, Vicki will help you. And she was wonderful as far as proofreading and things like that. And then through the years, social media came along, and I didn't know what I was doing with social media either. And everybody was patient with me, luckily. And so that became a very important part of the communications piece. And as far as showcasing our students and informing parents of what was going on and things. And of course, I had certain people that were helping me. Lisa was always coming to me and saying, hey, I got this idea, can you do it? And so we'd work together on that, so I appreciate that. And then, Rebecca, so she and Karen Statler were like, hey, we're gonna start a website for the school. Can you kind of help with that? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. They're like, we'll train you. So I have ended up doing 3 different websites. Did one for Turkey Run. I did one for the corporation when it just got started, and I just did the other one. And so I've kind of learned as we went, and I'm proud of the new website. Worked all year, this past year, getting it finished thanks to Beth Faust. She let me use her office on Fridays. And she guided me through, there's a whole list of things that have to be on the website, which people don't realize. And she was very good as far as, okay, this is what you need to do for this, and that's what you need to do for that. And so I appreciate Beth's help as well. And so all of these are communications pieces that are very important, because there will be people that will read the newspaper that won't be on social media. Some people won't be on social media, but they'll read the newspaper. So they've all been important pieces. And so one question that I have had people ask me, how many photos do you think you've taken? And so I kept track one year. And what would you think for 1 year? 25,000 photos for 1 year with my communications job and the yearbook. So Zach's always complaining that I take most of the space on the server because I have so many photos. So anyway, but I appreciate the school board allowing me to communicate the positive stories of students and staff, and it's been a wonderful time. It's not, like I said, what I expected to be doing with my life. I thought I'd be working for some kind of farm magazine or something like that when I graduated from Purdue, but I'm thankful for the opportunity that I've had. So thank you.
All right, I have the pleasure of introducing or bringing up Jane McMullen. I'll have her introduce everyone else, but I'm her favorite son-in-law. She's been working here 72 years. We take a picture now? Okay, yeah. Sorry, it's my first time. All right, Mom, why don't you introduce who you got here, and then say whatever you want.
I'm gonna make it, I can't, well, let's see, I could say son-in-law, couldn't I? I could stick with that. This is my favorite son-in-law.
Any son-in-law here?
It's recorded too. And I have my husband, Brock, and daughter Kieran, and her children, and daughter Brienne, and her children. Have you sneaked out? Rogan, and my son, and his children, and wife, and stepdaughter, and adopted daughter, Delisa, back there. All a part of the crew that have helped make things run. They've probably all worked in the concession stand for me at one time or another, so that's why they're happy that I'm retiring. No more jobs like that. Started in Turkey Run Elementary. When I looked up here and I went, oh, it really is time for me to retire, because 3 of these board members I had in class. And other children. So yes, I'm looking very forward to retirement, but I will not be gone. I'll always be a Park Heritage supporter and continue to send students through the school.
Thank you for
very
your.
much.
congratulations to all our retirees. Appreciate all you've done for the corporations. And we're getting ready to start the regular part of the meeting. If you wish not to be here for that part, that is fine. You can leave. If you wish to stay, you're welcome to. So with that, Dr. Shemp, are there any revisions or corrections to the agenda this evening? Additions?
There are 3 additions and miscellaneous. There's some personnel items, a title waiver I need to talk through for Title I, and then the virtual handbook. There's just an update there that to make. But that's it for miscellaneous, those 3 items.
Okay, very well. We'll move on to the minutes from the June 10th regular and executive session. Are there any questions, corrections, or comments on those minutes? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve? Elise with the motion. Mark with the second. All those in favor? 6. All those abstaining? 1. Nick. 2. Zach and Nick. Gotta look left, right? Okay, let's move on to financial business. Dr. Shemp, you want to start off with payroll and claims? Or
Yeah, pages 7 to 42, you're gonna see all the payroll and claims that are going through for the past month. Year over year, we have that conversation lots of times that it doesn't always match up evenly, but this is the business of the school when it comes down to here, we're paying our bills. And so we'll be recommending that you approve payment of such. Pages 43 through 51. 43, you see the start to each of the balances. On line 1, the education fund is at $2.77 million right now. That's a little bit lower than last year at this time. And then the operations fund, which is 0300, is 4.378 million right now. And the reason that's higher is because, again, there was the bond issuance. We had rolled some money over for Rockville Elementary with the intent of using that on a project, ended up needing a bond to cover the project. And so there were some extra dollars there that we'll talk about later as far as what might be a good use for that, and gives you something to determine later on in this meeting. On page, I want to say 51, you'll see the quarterly. It's always worth seeing this comparative cash report on page 51. The bottom line, lots of times where I like to go and just, quarter over quarter, it's interesting to see that and compare. There is, I've shared with you before, the long-term, over the years, the amounts. Currently, the operations fund is very healthy, and education fund is healthy as well. We know we're coming into this period of time where there's some unknown with SEA 1 and how that's going to impact schools, and we're all bracing for that. But I feel like we're in as good a position as we can be coming into that. So we just need to continue to be frugal and make good decisions on dollars and cents. Outside of that, on pages 52 to 54, you've got the ECA schedules, your FFA amounts, your girls basketball, you name it, all the different ECA accounts are listed there. Those totals, and then pages 55 to 56 gets into your utility cost summaries. And these pages, we look at it, I share them from month to month, and we look them over, and there have been those couple times over the last few years where we've had a large hit, which is why I have Richard Kinchlow in tonight from NRG, and he's gonna talk through some maybe purchasing options for the corporation. And so we'll get to that here in just a little bit as well. Outside of all of that, if you have questions, feel free to ask. If not, I would recommend that you approve the payroll and claims, financial reports, extracurricular reports, and utility cost summaries as presented.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Shemp? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion.
Second.
Gina with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, we got a few donations this evening. Zach, would you like to read the donations?
Yeah. Park County Community Foundation, $1,000. LPL Financial McMullen Scholarship, $500 for a total of $1,500.
Thank you, Zach. Again, we get lots and lots of donations. It's a little smaller this month, but we still appreciate all we get. So thank you very much. We have a motion to approve. Zach's made the motion. Elise with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. There is no old business tonight. We'll move on to requests and communications. And Richard is first, right? The NRG gas distribution.
And he's got a PowerPoint for you guys, and I printed off the presentation he'd sent to me, which was more of a sample presentation. He has since updated that, and so that information's, for your review as much as anything, but there's some things that have changed. He is having to be on top of markets all the time, and so there's some differences that have occurred since printing that. Is it working out? Oh, it sounds like it's working out. I hit the right one. There it is.
Good evening. My name is Richard Kinchla. I'm with NRG Energy. We are an energy company based down in Houston, Texas. We have territories all over the country, and we supply energy to both natural gas power, sustainability solutions across the country, and we basically partner with a variety of different types of businesses, all the way up from Fortune 100 companies all the way to schools, churches, basically helping them mitigate risk and cut costs as it relates to their energy costs. I cover Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, and parts of Tennessee, but mainly my main focus is Indiana. A little bit about Mike and I had met a couple of months ago to talk about school districts or the school communities' overall natural gas usage. Basically, in the state of Indiana, natural gas is a deregulated commodity in most part of the state, meaning it's the program that you're on right now is called natural gas transport. And what that means is you have a choice between, you do not have to go to the utility to get your natural gas. In other states, natural gas power is deregulated, but in the state of Indiana, natural gas is a deregulated commodity, meaning you do not have to buy it from the utility if you meet certain requirements. Both it's a usage number, but it's also schools, nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits qualify under, it's kind of a government pool, but basically you're able to mitigate the risk and cut cost by going with a third-party supplier. You don't have, in this case, you do not have to use CenterPoint. That's for businesses and like organizations, schools, libraries in some cases, churches in some cases, if they're big enough and usually have a school tied to them. But overall, basically, I was introduced to Mike through Phil Harrison at South Park Community Schools. And the reason we had talked is it sounded like you experienced some pretty high energy costs as it relates to the month of January and February when Winter Storm first hit. That was pretty common during that period across the country. And the reason for that is natural gas prices. When you have a storm on the level of Winter Storm Fern that stretches from the Maine coast all the way down to Texas, and it lasts for 2 weeks, you're going to see energy prices as a whole jump up and get pretty expensive. What Mike and I learned and we uncovered while meeting was basically what what you guys are on is kind of a variable rate with your current supplier, meaning you're not on a set contracted rate. So that rate can change, kind of like you're riding with the utility month over month over month. So I positioned to Mike and I talked to Mike about getting on a contracted rate, which will basically kind of even that out a little bit better. We do contracts in 12, 24, 36, 48, 60-month intervals, and it's basically what I need is, and what I got is usage information from you to basically get overall what your cost for natural gas spend would be on a termed contract. The pricing is a weighted average of your usage over a period of time, and what the gas prices are based on the Henry Hub or the NYMEX price. That fluctuates a little bit, but it also, when you lock it in, you're able to get pretty good pricing right now. Overall, natural gas prices are at historic lows, and the reason for that is at any given time, the U.S. is one of the largest producers of natural gas in the world. We're also one of the largest exporters of natural gas in the world. The good thing about natural gas in this part of the world is, in Indiana specific, most of your natural gas is either coming from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, or West Virginia. The closer you are to the fields or the wells means you usually get pretty good gas pricing overall. Traditional, a lot of people think natural gas comes from the Gulf. It still does, but that Gulf gas is usually more geared towards Texas now. In fact, the gas we have in our part of the world, which is called the Marcellus Field, is so abundant that they're actually shipping gas down to Texas and out of the Gulf of Mexico and into the world. It's how much gas we have in this part of the world. Now, there are a couple of factors that will affect gas prices, and there's concern for natural gas prices in the future, and that has a lot to do with LNG exporting, liquid natural gas exporting, because the producers of natural gas want gas abroad because it costs so much more. The war in the Ukraine, the war in the Gulf, has had a little impact on the U.S. gas markets, natural gas markets, but overall we've decoupled from the Middle East as it relates to natural gas, and we don't really need them, and we don't use them for natural gas anymore. Whereas Europe, Asia, and England use a lot of they have to import all their natural gas, so they have to spend a lot more money on it. Natural gas pricing domestically is a big concern as it relates to LNG and gas prices going up in the future. The other thing, which is a very big buzzword in this day and age, is data centers and AI. Data centers, as we all know, are big resources hogs. There's a lot of communities east of here in Brownsburg, or northeast of here, like Brownsburg, and that are fighting data centers because they're big resource hogs. They use a lot of power, they use a lot of natural gas, and they use a lot of water. And the reason that's important is the U.S. is in, lack of a better word, Cold War with China, and whoever gets to the data and the information quicker, they're building data centers to compete with them. So the U.S. is in a race to build data centers to get information and keep our country relevant as it relates to that. Why does that matter to natural gas? Is because a lot of these data centers are based in Ohio, and they're going along the pipeline to get cheap natural gas. That is a big concern. And the other thing is, in this country, we're using natural gas as a power source to power generation. Like Centerpoint down in Evansville just changed from coal to natural gas. That's going to raise power. That's going to raise power pricing, and the more gas is used for that, that means less gas, or there's more gas demand. So you're going to see overall gas prices rise in the future. But right now, we're at very good gas pricing. We're at a 3-year low because we have good production numbers. We have good gas storage numbers going into winter as it relates right now. I might eat my words if it gets really, really hot in the next couple of weeks. But it's overall gas prices are at historic lows. We're seeing 3-year lows all the way out. And basically what we're trying to do is get you on a contracted term where it saves the school district money and protects you a little bit better in the winter time. So you're not on a variable rate where it could go, it could go wildly up or down depending on how things go. During Winter Storm Fern, we saw the reference point is decatherms. We saw gas prices at $60 a decatherm of gas, where most decatherm gas in the open markets either right now is under $3. So that gives you a reference point when there's volatility in the market, how quickly gas prices can escalate. My job is both account executive, meeting with Mike to win your business, but also be account manager and help him mitigate the risk. I tell customers a lot of the time, right now it's a good time to look longer term than normal. And the reason for that is overall cheap gas prices. The data center elephant in the room haven't really affected the market wholeheartedly yet, but we are seeing each year goes by or each month goes by, more data centers are starting to speak for capacity, meaning more higher gas prices, and basically you're just seeing higher gas prices. The more LNG goes out of the country, you're going to see higher gas prices, and what we're trying to do is control that so that doesn't really happen. So I have a big long presentation about all things gas and where the market is. I'm happy to show you some indicative pricing, Mike, if that's how you'd like to see it, or
Whatever the board would like to see is,
okay. So
questions they have.
basically, overall, it's just like gas prices are in a very good position. I will show you one slide that is very important to understand. This kind of talks, like I said, there's a big presentation about everything you need to know about natural gas. This slide kind of talks about the gas prices overall and how they've been, how you can see the movement of gas prices over the past 6 years. You can see it starts in January 2020 and goes all the way out to July of 26. The reason this is important is what you want to do is you don't want to ride on this roller coaster. And when you're behind the utility or you're on a variable rate, you're pretty much riding on this roller coaster. With a contract, depending on when you lock in the contract, it spreads it out and gives you a better overall price, because what we're looking for is dips in the market where it's good times to buy and go that way. So that kind of explains it. That shows you the roller coaster of the pricing. 2020, you probably were wondering what happened in 2022. 2022 was almost a perfect black swan year where we saw a very late winter, which affects gas prices. Then we saw, I'm not going to get too detailed, but we have a short shoulder season in the spring and the fall, and that's where we inject gas into the ground so we can have it for summer and winter. We had a very short shoulder storage season, and then it got really, really hot. Add to it, we saw the war in the Ukraine start to kick off, and Europe needed more gas than normal because the NATO allies embargoed Russia and turned to the U.S. and other sources to get their natural gas. That sent demand up, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit, but you can kind of see the roller coaster. These are the events. I will be happy to send this back out so you can read it in more detail. But now is a great time to look at natural gas because of those historical lows. So that's an important slide. It kind of shows you why to get off the roller coaster of the variable rate, and also if you are behind the utility, why to get off the utility price, because we're here to help manage that risk and that those high spikes and those low and lock in the low lows. So okay, that's kind of it right now. Any questions about natural gas, where we're going, the events going on in the Persian Gulf, anything along those lines I can answer? Did my job pretty well then, I guess. I'm stumped. But like I said, Mike and I have been talking. We're trying to help you out and really keep your pricing down for the foreseeable future. Like I said, now's a good time. It's a very good time to look at longer term than traditional, because if you wait too long, all those data centers are going to start to kick in, and the LNG export sites are going to start to kick in, and it's just overall good pricing in general. So
Where are we at right now on, say, the 5-year storage average?
we're above the 5-year storage average by a lot. I have a slide that could actually show that. It is, right there, this shows the 5-year average. So the the blue line represents the 5-year average. The black line represents where we are now and where we're projected to go with the dots. So we're well above it. We did drop below it last year or earlier in this year, and that was because of Fern and pulling gas out and trying to get gas out enough. But in 2025, it actually was worse. So when we go below the 5-year average as it relates to storage, people start to panic a little bit and they're hoping they can make it up and scrambling. 2022 is the best example of that, when it was so low and they were trying to catch up. And finally, what happened in 2022 and why it went down again was because the weather broke and we started seeing nice weather and we had a nice mild winter. We didn't have what we had in January and February. It really helped control prices and brought everything right back down to more reasonable levels. So we're in good position, is another word. So as long as it doesn't get too hot. So the reason I mentioned summer heat too, and why that is important to the bigger picture, because a lot of people just think natural gas and they think just traditional heating is. Areas like Texas, the Southeast, and the Southwest use a lot of natural gas for power generation. So the minute they start, it's like it gets really hot in Texas, for example, they start flipping on the air conditioning. You're going to draw more out of storage. You're going to draw more. You're going to just use more natural gas for power burn. So that's going to affect overall. That can affect this number. That can affect just overall gas prices in general. So it does look like it's starting to warm up a little bit. I will say that, but hopefully it kind of planes off as we're getting closer and closer to fall. So, any questions about anything else, the Middle East, anything I can address or anything along those lines? So,
At this point, do you have any sort of suggestions that you'd want to share as far as timeframes? I know you said
Yeah.
longer, and that might be interesting to hear from the board as far as what kind of length, if any, they'd be interested in us
So-
trying to.
there's a couple of slides I can show. One is, this is the NYMEX natural gas analytics slide, and it kind of shows you where we are in the big picture of things. This is called our battery chart, and it shows the highest point the gas was selling at and the lowest point gas was selling at. And the black line represents about where we are currently. And then this shows you where we are. So in Q4 of 2026, we're seeing $3.21. It was the current price. The lowest was $3.21. So we hit the lowest price. And then it goes down from there. You can kind of see where we are in good position overall. It's most of the gas prices is in the lower percentile of this battery chart. We're seeing low gas prices, and it kind of extends out long enough for a while that way. So clearly it's and the farther we get out this way, there's more risk that those, like I said, data centers, more demand will start to pick up. The other big thing is how much natural gas we will be sending out. We're expected to double the amount of natural gas we're sending out of the country as it relates to LNG. That has a lot of people very paranoid. The reason for that is less gas for domestic use, less gas for storage, less like everything. They want the gas abroad because they get such better pricing abroad than they do in this country. So it's still a good time for you can kind of see how it starts to rise a little bit, but we're still at low prices overall as it goes out. Again, one thing to consider when you see this slide is this is the open market. This is not gas is tied, your pricing is tied to your weighted average of your usage, and that's not factored in here. This is just open market pricing of what the market's currently doing. So anyway, that's that. And then overall, I can show you this. So right now, as it relates to, actually, one thing I do need to adjust to this is, that is, I put you on a 100% swing program. That protects you a lot in winter. So if you go like over your usage, or a student leaves the gym door open and gas or heat gets sucked out of it, you're using it. That's the only thing that's different here. But overall, this kind of shows you where your weighted average price would be as a fixed price. So that is the current NYMEX strip with what we call the basis, which is the transport component to get you the gas here, built in, and that kind of shows you where pricing is as an overall cost. Now, these are indicative and this will change because when I updated this, it was like 5 minutes before the market closed, which means I have to update this again in the morning. But overall, it gives you an idea of what's going on, going all the way out. And you can kind of see it is a little bit higher overall, but basically it kind of, the markets have kind of converged into one area where it's cheaper gas. It's a really bright projector up here, but so it kind of, the markets have kind of converged and you're getting very good gas pricing all the way out. So the other way to do it, that's a full fixed price. That means you're 100% hedged. If Mike wants to, he can hedge the gas markets with my help. Some schools do it, some schools don't. They don't want that risk. They want to know, it's like you were talking about the energy report and energy cost. Most schools stick to a full fixed price because they want to know every month, hey, we're using roughly the same amount every month. We know that whatever we use is kind of times that. So.
I kind of talked through the timeline on this. So I had to contact our utility, and Richard is in contact with them as well because you work with the utility, but we also
Yes,
had to get a
yes.
hold of Constellation and talk with them. And so I was looking at September 1st, and I guess as much as anything, wanted to hear from the board just to make sure that you felt good about this with, you know, the idea of us being able to stabilize some of the pricing and kind of protect for in the future so we don't have any of those big bumps like we have in the future or have in the past. And if you feel good with that, I think there's about 18 different ways it sounds like that it can be presented to us as far as, hey, here's what might be the best way. With you're talking 0% swing and how much if we want to hedge and this and that and the other. I don't know how much input the board wants to give on that, but
Or any
time
questions
is,
I can answer. to
yeah,
that.
but time becomes of the essence at some point here.
So basically what you have to do, Constellation is a third-party supplier, much like myself. They're my thorn in my side, don't like them. So anytime I can get in front of a competitor, I do. The reason that there is a bit of urgency, if you want to go with a September start, I have to know, the utility center point requires 30 to 15 day notice to lock that in. We would need to lock in gas probably in the next 5 to 6 days sooner to get that in, because what Mike has to do is go back to the utility. He's kind of already prompted it, but it's like, hey, we're interested in possibly switching providers. Here's kind of a warning about that, but you need to let them know. We need to get a contract in place and locked in. The biggest thing is what you need to decide is term. How long do you want to go for? Fixed price or hedging. Like I said, I recommend, usually most schools do just fixed price because they want to know the budget certainty for these types of meetings and report it out, and just kind of go from there. Like I said, most schools, the only thing that's a typo on here was the swing. The 100% swing basically means, let's just say you use 100 decatherms of gas every month. It's like we're in July, you're using 100 decatherms of gas. If you go over the 100 decatherms, 1 decatherm over, you're going to be protected at your contracted rate. You're not going out to, it becomes kind of a variable when you go out if you don't have swing tied into it to go. So if you did a 0% swing, you would be tied to the market price for that 1 decatherm over. You know your contracted rate because it would be 465.7, for example. But any decatherm over that, it would be, you would pay whatever the market is. With 100% swing, you have the safety of knowing, hey, I went 10 decatherms over during the winter. And it's just like we're covered at our contracted rate. Does that make sense? Okay. So if it doesn't, please ask. It's a lot and it's unique. But like I mentioned, is the hedging portion of it is what all that means is you lock in your basis. This number is actually tied into this number. So what that does is you're able to lock in and hedge, and then hedge certain percentages of your usage in the open market. So, and I'm here to help with that and make that, it's like, you gotta catch the market sometimes at the right time, but there's advantages of that, or like I said, it's historical has told me most school districts are pretty comfortable with a full fixed price, so. Questions?
I got one. I may have missed this. Is there you said you got to look at our data, right? Is there a way that we can see what our rate is over our last 5 in comparison to what these fixed rates would be? Do we have something that shows that?
That would be,
Is that in the 24 months that I shared? Would that be in the 24 months that I shared with you?
that's not, it's like you'll have the usage, but the problem is, I think with the variable rate you're on, that can fluctuate, so each month will be very different.
I was just
I'm gonna
curious
wanna go
if
back
we
and compare
averaged
that
all the
to-
months that we have access to, if
Yeah.
it would show us, and then we could compare it to the fixed.
Now,
Yeah, I know it might change in the
Yeah,
future.
so one thing to keep in mind in that scenario is what happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago is very different. So when you're looking at gas, you're looking at a moment in time out.
I understand.
And so it's let's say it's July of 2022, the markets were at $12 or $6, $8 per decatherm of gas. It's gonna look a little skewed in that regard. Overall, it's really, really good. But we're also still looking at a moment in time. What's going on currently in, we'll just call it the mid-con region right now, is basis is starting to move up, which is this number right here, because that's the transport component of the natural gas. So it's coming across a pipeline from Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Ohio, and it's going all the way out to the Rocky Mountains. The farther you get away from where the pool is, it depends on, that's part of the transport cost. The other part of that is how much people or businesses are speaking for that gas on that pipeline. The reason I bring up data centers and I bring up Ohio is one of the largest data center states in the country right now. And what these data centers are doing is basically sitting on side of the data center or the pipeline to get cheap natural gas to power their data centers or back up their power for these data centers. A lot of that capacity is getting spoken for. That is the biggest concern in the future as it relates to your power pricing and your gas pricing. It could get really ugly very quickly. And the only reason it's starting to move up, but I'll give you a reference point. This number right here in New England area, Connecticut, I just renewed one of my customers up there, is $8 for just the basis portion. Tie in the NYMEX, it goes up to $11. And there's a couple reasons for that, but one is they don't have pipelines going through the state. They import all their gas, like England and Europe and everybody else. They don't want pipelines going through the state, so they have more expensive gas. But large parts of the country are experiencing much more elevated basis prices because of these data centers are just picking it off. So, and they want it because they have deeper pockets than everybody else. They have backing from everybody else, and it's just cheaper overall. So I'm not trying to fear, I'm just telling you what the industry is hearing and what we're concerned about and how we're trying to mitigate that for smaller businesses or schools or smaller entities, so they're not gonna get punched in the face with $12, $6 gas in the future, $7, $8 gas in the future. There's a way to control that. So, but back to your point is, it's a moment in time. It's gonna look a little bit different. So the overall, I will say this, the overall NYMEX settle over the past 12 months or 12 years of monthly averages is right around the $4.20 range, around there, somewhere around there. So you're basically in line with what's going on with the current average decatherm price of gas.
I guess I had another question off that.
Yeah.
It was 2022 the worst year in that 12-year range then?
Yes.
Okay.
It was, yeah, so. Back. There, okay, so this period right here is 2022. A lot of volatility. And again, the reason for that is gas is affected heavily by weather. I mean, obviously, cold, the extremes, real cold, real hot. And the reason for that is, as I mentioned, power generation. The winter, it gets really expensive because everybody's heating everything. So when you have a year where, and the other problem with 2022 is we were coming out of the pandemic. Businesses were going back to work. Manufacturing was going back. It was getting back up to pre-pandemic levels. So all of a sudden there was more need for gas. Then you get a very cold winter that year. And then the shoulder season, which I mentioned was storage season when we're injecting gas. Well, that was cut short because we came off a cold winter and then all of a sudden it got really hot right about April and didn't let up until September. So, and then Russia got crazy and decided to invade the Ukraine. So that all impacted, that almost became truly a black swan year. You can see where gas prices were. If you think that's bad, if you were with the utility at that point, you were paying probably $12 a decatherm of gas for 1 decatherm of gas. It's so transport is good because it helps you mitigate risk. It also helps you control the cost a little bit better, because if you signed in a contract right here and you locked it in at, I don't know, $370 and you did a 2-year contract, yeah, this, while the rest of the world is riding this roller coaster, you're paying $3 and whatever cents over here, and you're riding that wave and you're buffered against that wave or that roller coaster. But also, the good thing about this slide is it also kind of shows like what historical events happened in that particular period, so you have a reference point. Some of them are, I've asked them to clean it up and trim a lot of these events because some I don't think really matter all that much, but hey, they're the experts in some regards. So any questions, any further questions off that?
So what do you think is the optimal contract time? 'Cause you, I mean, you gave us a whole bunch of options
I
there.
did.
What's the optimal, most efficient?
Let's do this. So I think the sweet spot probably is, I'll say this, the sweet spot's probably around 36 months. You could go farther if you're comfortable with it. Just depends on if you're comfortable. The market can always go down, it can always go up. So, and there's a lot of factors that can play into that. These data centers don't get built as quick. The war in the Iranian war can affect that because apparently I've heard the war in Iran is kind of affecting how fast data centers are being built. I don't know if that's true or not. So that's what we've heard. But sweet spot's probably 36 months. My job is also, once you sign an agreement, is to look at the market and watch for markets, and at times start bugging Mike again saying, hey, that price is really good, but guess what? I rerun the numbers and now you're at 444 if you add on 2 more years of that. Like, and it's the good thing is you can lock that in at any point and get that, and it's come down 15 cents. So my job is to be proactive and help you out in that regard. But I would say the sweet spot, I mean, these are all really good pricing. Probably the sweet spot's 36, 48 months. I mean, it just depends on how much risk the school district is willing to take, how much they want to pay for gas. How much have you budgeted for future gas prices? Have you thought about that? It's something to consider because, and I will tell you this, $4.65 might be, if we come back in 36 months, it might be very different. It might be in the 6s for a new time period into 31. It could be higher. Or again, you're riding the road, it's like, but I mean, those are the numbers. It's just depending on what risk you're willing to take and if you like those prices. If, hey, we budgeted enough for right now to have 465 gas in the future for the next 60 months. So it just depends on your appetite and the school district's appetite. I can't recommend anything because I'm not certified to recommend anything. But it's just like I can point out key indicators of what potentially is coming. It's like your financial advisor. It's like, hey, here's some key, it's like, this looks like it's gonna be a great stock in the next 2 years or whatever. I'm here to point out events that are helping or hurting, and we're going from there. So just depends on your appetite overall. So
I guess my next question would be the same question to you. What would be our optimal contract time?
Well, from my line of logic, I was thinking 3 years was as long as we would wanna go. At the same time, I thought, well, heck, if you knew you were locked in for just a year at the 424, maybe that's not that bad. It's just, we were trying to get some stability and consistency in costs. And maybe you do it for a year and you decide, well, that worked out pretty well. We'd like to do another year and we'd like to extend. I can see anywhere from
Is
1
it-
to 3.
So
but-
on your timeline, when do you need a decision by, the August meeting?
probably the next couple of days for
Next
September
couple of
start.
days.
September start for sure.
So what I would wanna do is if the board is okay with me pursuing this, I go back and look where I think Nick was going with and look at the breakdown over the last year or two. I'll probably go back and even look at 2022 just out of curiosity to see how those numbers stack up. Compare that to what 1, 2, or 3 years are and figure out what sort of appetite, what makes the most sense and sign that we would move forward with that. If you're okay with that, then I'll make that decision. If you're not okay, we can wait.
I can also, it's like I can do that based on what your historical usage is right now. But the problem is it's a flat market price and it depends on how long you've been on the variable. That's important because the variable this winter was really, really hard because when you're on a variable rate with a supplier, it's just like, and this is not bad mouthing my competitors because I don't do that. They can make that price they get it close to the market, but they add in margin, they add in things on top of it they can kind of give you any price they really want. In matter of speaking, it's a variable rate. So, but they try to stay close to the market, but it's a variable rate. That is the problem with having like kind of an open contract where it's not even a contract, it's just variable and you're at risk of whatever. I have one customer who I've been trying to get off a variable rate forever and I was like, and I'll give you the best example is February of this year, the open market settled at $7 and something. February, we've never had that. So the reason for that is Winter Storm Firm was right in the middle of settle on February. That was awful. But what that shows you is when you're on a variable rate, it's just like it's like the open market might have been $7.74, but you're paying $7.90 for gas because there's a little bit of an upcharge because you're on this variable rate. That's why sooner is probably better. The closer we get to winter, these prices will start to go up. The other thing that starts to impact, right now we're in kind of maintenance season as it relates to LNG exports. We're at capacity as it relates to LNG exports. If Europe starts to demand more gas and we start moving more tankers out, may or may not happen. If they have a cold winter, we have a cold winter, things are just gonna go through the roof again. And all that, you ask about the storage, all that storage we have out the door. And then we go into winter and we're kind of in trouble because we don't have enough gas in the ground.
Right, 2 cold weeks in New York City and the storage goes.
Well, Fern was 2 weeks of cold weather, 2 weeks of cold weather that went from Maine to Texas. And the reason that is important is where the gas fields are in this country. The one I just mentioned with Pennsylvania, Ohio, and the other ones are down in the Gulf. Texas got hit really hard. And it's like, and this is probably, Texas is kind of like mama in the energy world. If they're happy, if mama's happy, everybody's happy. If mama isn't happy, nobody's happy. Texas scrambled because they were after Uri in 21. This Texas legislation told all their producers, you need to insulate the pipelines. If we have another cold spell like we did, they had wells freeze. They couldn't get gas through the pipeline, so they were scrambling to get gas anywhere they could. Well, guess what? Some of them insulated the pipelines, other ones didn't. And guess what? We had pipeline freeze off. Texas couldn't get gas again. But at the same time as the rest of the part of the country, Pennsylvania saw pipelines freeze. very minimum, I think we had 2 or 3, but overall, it was a bad storm. So 2 weeks can wreak havoc. And the problem with also Fern was that storm was projected to last for into February, almost into March. So there was a lot of panic going on. I'm surprised I have this much hair left and I'm not white, gray completely right now. So it was a rough month and a half. It's still carrying through because it's in the past 5 years, the US has experienced the storm of the decade, the storm of the century, and a generational storm within 5 years of each other. And that is, I don't know if that's the new norm. I don't know if it's El Nino or El La Nina or whatever it is, but it's like we're experiencing much harsher winters. It kind of reminds me of what it was like when I was a kid. It's just cold and it's traditional winters are back. We had a good spell where things were mild and we didn't have it. So that's kind of, it variables, and that's what we're trying to cut down on that roller coaster. So.
All right. Any other questions? All right.
Okay.
So what do you need from us, Mike?
Do you wanna make any sort of recommendation to, does anybody wanna
Opinions
make
on this?
recommendations moving forward?
I just wanted to see that average. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. It'd just be good information to see what we averaged and then compare it to what we could get as the rate, was my thought.
Yep, that's good. I think that's good. Lise?
I definitely think we need to, I just wanna know our optimal timeline. I don't wanna go too far out, but I don't wanna go too short. We get bit one way or the other, so.
Gina?
Oh, I'm interested in seeing the averages too, the comparison.
Same? Doug?
So presumably off of page 56 for Constellation Pro Alliance, February, where it went from 2025 to like $6,300 to $31,000. That's what we're trying to avoid.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yes.
So I'm good with Mike having the say so with NRG to come up with a plan to have it fixed.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do a fixed rate and avoid, things like this, I'd say that's it.
Do you wanna see those averages before making an agreement, or do you just wanna see the averages so you know? Cause I'm not gonna sign off on something that's gonna put us in a bad spot, that we're gonna pay a whole lot more.
You can also start in October, just for the record, as long as
Of course,
you-
yeah, there's
as
not.
long as you reach out to Centerpoint and
Just
say,
have to
hey, my bad, it's not September 1st. I have to adjust my numbers to start from an October time frame, but
But I'm okay either way, just let me know if you wanna see it first, okay, if you wanna see it after, okay.
I think we should see the numbers, and then if we have to start a month later, we can do that.
I'd agree. I'd feel more comfortable.
I think it's something, I think everybody says it's something we kinda wanna do, but we kinda want a little more information on that.
That works, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you all.
coming,
Thank you
presenting,
very much.
appreciate it. Mr. Thornton, let's talk about wrestling.
Yeah, sure. Like Scott, I'm also rocking the I Survived Fair Week look. I think me and my family are also still recovering, such as having cattle at the fair. It's been about a year, almost exactly a year since we were here, basically asking the school board for more space, more practice space for our growing wrestling programs. I really just wanted to say thank you, because it was, going from one space to then having the balcony as a second space was just absolutely critical for not just our men's wrestling program, which I'm the head of, but also our women's wrestling program and our middle school program. It was just absolutely necessary, and it worked out really well. I know we kind of started with some big dreams, but really all we needed was another place to put a mat and a dedicated space, and you guys got that for us. And it just worked out phenomenal. And so, really, that's you know, that's basically what I wanted to say, and I just wanted to say thank you again, and I do wanna ask one thing, and I wanna just see if we could have the same setup for this coming season, because it worked out really well for us. Unless you got something bigger in the works, you know, the same setup, if we can have that, this coming season, that'd be phenomenal, because it just worked out great for us, so yeah, thank you for allowing us to have that second space.
What's the problems with having that this next season?
The only thing is, principals have anything going on.
Just reach out like normal and we'll sit down with Brian and make it happen.
Perfect. Appreciate it. That's all I had.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
thank you, Tyler.
Down.
Okay, Amanda Doe.
I just wanted to give you guys an update kind of on where the Connect Academy is, how it's going, it looks like, things like that. So as of right now, we have 7 new students enrolled in the district, officially enrolled. We have 4 or 5 that we're meeting with in the next couple weeks between K to 12. We have each student's gonna get an individualized plan so that it basically fits what they need. Every student that's come in, that's met with us, has a different plan on how they're coming, either coming in for some classes in middle school or, you know, all full-time online. So it's very broad and throughout the district, every kid that's come in has something different that they are experiencing. Questions?
Talk to me a little bit about your conversations with the state, kind of go
Oh, yeah.
there.
So I met with the Indiana Department of Education this week just to kind of make sure that we are in compliance with all of the things as far as attendance. So they are expected to get 5 hours a day at home, but that doesn't mean 5 hours online staring at a computer. So what we're looking at is about 3 hours a day for K to 5 on the computer, and then they just have to give me 2 hours of educational experience that they do outside of our curriculum. High school is 4 hours on the computer and then 2 hours outside of the curriculum that they are completing. At the end of the week, they will be asked to just send me what they did that week for those 10 hours that they have to make up. So, and then they also clarified that after 10 days of consecutive absences, they are, or 18 cumulative absences, they are to be withdrawn from our program. They are not allowed to be on our 9-month program anymore. So.
You want to touch on the funding piece just a little?
Yeah, so we found out a little bit about the funding. Any student who is 50% or higher in person, which has actually been some of our middle school kids that have come to us and met with us, they actually are still 50% in person and less than that online. We get 100% funding for them. Any child who's full-time online, it's 85% per student. So we do take a little bit of a dip for those students that are full-time online. I missed it all, sorry.
So then these, so then the handbook update, that's just coming from the DOE?
Yes, that's what I found out from the DOA that we changed.
Okay, I thought that, but I
Yeah.
just, thank you for the clarification.
Kind of walk them through, there's not a typical conversation,
Just not-
but a hypothetical conversation, if somebody has contacted you and here's how that kind of goes.
Okay, so
And about your parent night thing.
yes, okay, so part of what we see when parents are coming in is they want the flexibility. So the 7 that have enrolled that were from outside of the district are coming in because one, they really wanted to be a part of our district. They've done sports with alphas or something to that effect and they want to join. But they're wanting the flexibility. They're wanting to be able to work at their pace, their speed, but also be involved in some of the things in the school district. So that's why we've had a lot of students that actually want to do some in-person courses and the rest online. It's really about the flexibility and the individualization. A lot of the students that have come just want to be able to fit their needs, and the parents want to make sure that their needs are getting met. That's where a lot of that comes from. So we are having a parent night next Tuesday at 5:30, where all the parents who have enrolled will come in. We'll kind of go over the handbook, what we're expecting. It's very much an orientation, and then Pearson, the company we're going through, will present and kind of walk them through how to use the program.
And you said 7 of those kids were out of district kids.
The 7 that we have enrolled right now are all from out of district. They're moved into the district.
So they're completely new.
They're new students, yes.
Heritage umbrella.
Yes.
Is like a trend on what area they're coming from, like Vigo or have you noticed? No?
One's from Crawfordsville area, one's from Park County, but not our district. So there's just they're all over the place. There's one family that actually moved here from Florida, so they're all over the place.
When they do their online stuff, does it track how long they're online?
Yes, and it's active minutes. So if they're inactive, it will not track their minutes, which all the parents know that if they have 3 hours of active time online, I'll go in the next day to take their attendance to make sure they were here, and if it doesn't show 3 active hours, then they're not considered present for that day.
Right on.
Thank you.
Hopefully we keep getting some more. It's great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. We'll move on to new business. Looks like we have some personnel items. Start out with some resignations, or you do I guess you can do the whole thing.
Sure.
Personnel list.
The resignations we have are Erica Crane, Turkey Run Elementary teacher, Kathleen Rush, Park Heritage Middle School teacher, Kayla Okerson, route bus driver, Jenica Sutton, 5th grade RES, Alex Anderson, ASL, was working at the middle school, Reagan Benjamin, Life Skills IA, and then new hires, Laura Holtzclaw for communications director. She was here tonight taking photos of the retirees. That's consistent with what it was in the handbook before. Teresa Cox Parton, IA, she'll start out in preschool at 7 hours, start date 8/6/26. I should have said Laura's start date 7/22/26. And then Elizabeth Mace as Rockville Elementary Secretary, 8 hours, start date 7/17/26. And Mary Wicker has been working with her and helping her. And Elisa's been there and taking care of business there in Rockville Elementary's office. And then on the core PCA side, Carmen Branson is licensed in library, and so Carmen is willing to step up and be the corp librarian, which isn't really corporation librarian like the old way that it had to be. She is the corporation library coordinator. Depending how we give a title, it's legal to allow somebody who isn't licensed in library sciences even to be called a library coordinator, but the state limits you on 2 other titles. There are 2 titles you can't use, so I'm going ahead and moving away from the old title, even though Carmen could qualify for it. It's an ECA, it's on the ECA list. And then as an update, frustrating, Ashlyn Heibarger, who was previously approved, nothing frustrating with Ashlyn, but with Ball State had a grant where they were going to reimburse the corp for paying her. Ball State's grant fell through, and so we don't typically pay people throughout their student teaching. We were gonna be able to do it in this instance because we're gonna get rebate money essentially for that. And so unfortunately, that means that need to remove or go back on the recommendation to pay her throughout her student teaching time, which is frustrating, and nonetheless, that's a conversation for Ball State, which I've had. Bus route drivers, Paula Branham, Lori Williams, Christina Hill, Tiffany Trissel, Cheyenne Staley, Dawn Crowder, Erin McCoy, Teresa Beverly, Allie Woods, Jake Gwynn, Raylene Swaim, who's on contract. Mid-bus route drivers, Christina Beverly, Debbie DePlanty, Portia Shaw, Brian Moore, Josh Mondell, and then a leave for Alexa Patrick, approximately September 24th to December 18th. Carrie Strassler, 8/6 to 10/28. Again, those are always approximate. And then finally, approval of training for Mary Wicker to come in and work with the secretary throughout the course of the year. There's going to be some periodic times, and so I'm asking you to approve up to 60 hours there. That's all the personnel for right now. If you have any questions on any of those items, I can answer those.
Very well. Questions, comments, concerns from board members? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Kim? Those in favor? 7-0 vote. Okay, school safety plan.
Within your packet there, actually not in your packet, I gave you in addition to your packet, you've got a clipped item, which is the school safety plan. over the course of many years here, safety plans have been kind of held tight within corporations, and we don't really put them out there for the world to see. But I made you a hard copy for tonight, since you have to approve that you've seen it. You're not necessarily approving of every word within it. If you want to take it with you and look through it, you're welcome to, but I just would ask that maybe if you wanna give me some feedback later on, we can address things. Mrs. Benjamin put a lot of time into this, and people over the years have put a lot of time into this plan, but it's a living document. It changes over time. Best practices have to be updated. And so, of course, if you wanna look in there, you're welcome to. But otherwise, I'm asking for a basic approval that you've seen it, it exists.
Okay, questions or comments on the school safety plan? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Elise?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, let's talk about the 2027 bond.
Okay, so as board members are aware, we've been gathering information regarding potential needs throughout the school corporation, both from an operations fund perspective, as well as potential renovations and improvements, including HVAC and roof work at Turkey Run Elementary and Park Heritage Middle School especially. In order to conduct this work, it's gonna be necessary, I believe, to pursue a bond issuance again with proceeds to be available in 2027 for the work to occur next summer. I plan to bring specific information to the board meeting in August, and will ask would be asking permission to advertise for that information. So basically, I'm asking you permission to advertise to then have a meeting and talk about possible improvements that you would approve or not approve of us going out for bond again. An additional handout or additional packet I gave to you. We had a moisture management group go through and take a look at the roofs at each of the buildings. And I've just got the color codes for you here. Basically, red is fail, orange is headed there. Blue is okay for now and manageable. Green is, we could do some updates and probably survive a certain period of years. I have a longer version of this. If anybody wants to look through that, you're welcome to, but I tried to give you just the picture highlights
What's
on
the
that.
purple and gray?
So I'm sorry.
What's the purple and gray?
Great. Oh no. Let me see. What page we're looking at.
Last one.
So this moisture management group, as I flip through these pages, fair to poor is purple. Gray is under warranty and or needs repaired. So again, I'll go through them again. Green is maintainable according to this group's assessment. They did use drones, they did some core samples, they walked the roofs. Blue is good, yellow was fair to good, I don't know if we had any yellow. Fair to poor was purple, poor was orange, and then failed was red. So in looking at this information, this group doesn't necessarily come in and do the work, right? They will do smaller work if we want them to, like the roofs in green, they would do some of that if we wanted. But they're more like a performance services groups who are specific to roofs. Like they just do it for roofing. So they come in and they're able to collect the bids. Of course, the board still approves that, but they manage it, so to speak. So it's not like telling us our roofs are like so many are in the red, like you see, is as advantageous to them as it would be if they're doing all the work and just coming in and saying, well, you need all new roofs, right? It's I feel like it's more honest than that, I would say. And they can come in and do a presentation if you want to hear from them too, but this I thought was really important as we look at bonds into the future. I know there's some HVAC work on this building that hasn't yet been totally accomplished over the years. There's still some units that are older. There's still some communications that needs to happen and to finalize Turkey Run Elementary and Park Heritage Middle School. Knowing the way that geo bonds work now, you can't do back-to-back years on the same facility. And so I was trying to lump, they do have an executive summary in here of how they think, we should time out these all the way into 2029. But I think we need to lump the HVAC and the roofing work into the same buildings so that in the future, you could do another bond if you ever had to another location without worrying about, well, we didn't get all that work done, and then it sits kind of like some of these pieces have sat for a long time. So, as much as anything, I'm gonna be asking permission to advertise with all of that in mind, and I know that's a whole lot. Looking at, if you look at the first page of this colorful page, that's Rockville Elementary's roofs. One of the things that stood out for me is that, right now, because we have dollars available in operations, we could actually get work done on these roofs in red this year. And you tend to get better prices in the fall, because a lot of the people would like to keep their workers active throughout the fall, and they're finishing up their school jobs that were done in the summertime. And so the thought of trying to put out something yet for this fall makes sense to me. That would be separate from a bond. That would be operations fund dollars that are already set aside for improvements on Rockville Elementary. Because one of the last things I want is to have these nice new ceilings get waterlogged, right? In talking that through with them yesterday, part of that was I would like to get pricing though on the orange and the red. Because again, a lot of times people look at economy of scale and you think the bigger and have addendums. So then if it's too much, okay, we cut that piece out. So I'll stop and I want to hear your thoughts on all that. I mean, essentially, the big picture, I'm asking to be able to advertise for a future bond. But this is two separate items. One is doing work yet this year, and the next is doing that work at this building.
So what amount
Which
are
then
you
tax
thinking?
purposes, I guess, yeah, I should cover that, I'm sorry. So the point is, still going with what Stiefel, when they were in here the last time, we still wanna keep those levies the same. Right, levies, we wanna maintain the levy, keep it where it's at. We don't wanna go raising taxes for this, that's not the goal. The goal is to keep them flatlined as much as possible. But to be able to utilize those funds. Yeah, I should have said that.
In that amount, depends on how far out we go and when we.
And they would then be involved in that piece again, where they would say, I think they said 6.5 million was the number, if I remember correctly, but I don't think it will take 6.5 million to get there. But again, how many years, and we wanna go fewer years than locking our hand, tying ourselves up for a long time.
There's a lot
They
of
said
red on the
6.5
roof.
million, kept the levy the same. Additional or total on, cause we've just did 3.
I think
Additional.
Additional.
So are you bringing that stuff to the next?
That would be the next, yeah.
So
this-
you're asking permission to look at this right now,
To
Asking
advertise.
permission to advertise.
and then we're gonna come back and look at more specifics.
Just
Well,
like,
we have, before that August meeting, will you have some numbers for what this would cost and
I
how
have
much
some
we can
preliminary
cover
numbers,
now?
I have.
Are we going to have anybody else look at the roofs?
So that group would bid it out to the other group, so I don't know if,
No, I mean, look at them and see if they are, if somebody else thinks they're bad.
somebody else agrees that they are in bad shape or good shape or whatever. I wasn't planning on doing that, but
I mean, if you're bidding out the roof, you would assume that you would look at it.
there have been some patches, like even when we walked Rockville Elementary, those of you that remember, there was the room with the beam that was about 5 feet off the ground that made no sense. There was also a hole in the roof there. That's already patched. But there are other patches like that that have been done along those two hallways. Those two hallways are two of the worst spaces according to their assessment.
That we just built new rooms under.
Gotta take care of the envelope.
Yeah, we knew they were bad.
So at the next meeting, you're gonna look at what you wanna spend out of the operations fund potentially on
Rockville.
Rockville Elementary.
Yep.
And then also come with numbers that we may wanna look at as far as how far we wanna go with the rest of this at this point.
Yep.
Very well. Other questions? There are none, we have a motion. Would you like to make the motion? Kim has made the motion.
Second the motion.
Gina has seconded the motion. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. Let's talk about textbooks.
Pages 65 to 69, you'll see a recommendation to approve the curricular materials list for new textbook adoptions. We don't really get to charge like in the old days. These dollars are offset from what the state gives us, and that's separated out within the education fund to be able to pay these dollars, but we have to have some sort of record keeping there. So that's what these approvals are really about.
We still have wide flexibility since the state took over paying for that. Did they put strings on that? And do we have as much flexibility as we used to, or?
So they say we have to use those dollars on curriculum materials. So they lumped them in to the education fund, but really we still have to earmark them. So there's not a lot of flex with it. And that money gets spent up each time we do a new adoption. We're fortunate to be able to get it paid off year to year with what they provide. I do know of a school not real far from here who recently put out, you can do some charging again. I don't think it's a direction that we wanna go. Right? You know, as long as we can keep from doing that, we wanna provide it free.
No, as far as did they tighten up as far as what textbooks we can choose to use?
They have a set list, and there are fewer textbook companies than there once was too. But it's not quite as tight as I think it could get at some point. I think there's probably room if they want to tighten that still. But we go from the approved list of what the state says is acceptable to use.
And not that we want to, but if you don't, do you still get their funding?
I could see them not giving that funding if you went outside that list. And that definitely in grants, you don't. There are grants that you would not get that funding. So I'd be kind of surprised if they would allow for that.
I'm just curious. Other questions or comments? We have a motion.
So moved.
Kim has made the motion. Mark with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Credit card update.
Okay, so let's see, you might have noticed Elisa Van Dusen is here tonight, our new Rockville Elementary principal. She needs to be on the list for approval for a credit card, for the corporation credit card. And Kristen Bonomo's credit card has been canceled, destroyed already, so just want to get Elisa on the list to hook her in a little bit more.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is that, huh?
Gina,
If
That
you
was
wanted her
Gina?
to do a speech or something in the meantime before you that's
is
up
that
to
required?
you guys' call. I mean, that's entirely.
I'd second.
Nick with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. She's officially tied into the financials. She can't leave us now. Retention sign-on bonus.
So finding bus drivers can be a challenge, as you all know, and at the same time, keeping good workers can be a challenge. Bus drivers, pay rates didn't go up on the daily for this year, but what I would like to do is I'd like to do a sign-on retention bonus for them. I'd like to do a $500 sign-on or retention for yellow bus route drivers. And so after the first 10 days of school, I'd like them to be able to receive $500. For a mid-bus driver, it would be $300. I think that's maybe a way to keep people enticed to staying with us. You know, many of them love their jobs, but it's hard work. And it's easy to think maybe there are greener pastures. So
Is that the same for contract bus drivers?
that's your call. I didn't put it in there, but that's up to you guys. They're obviously valued just the same, but their rate is also different as a contracted driver. So
Thoughts are no?
Say no.
I mean, if we didn't have that contract bus driver, we would probably have to find another one or get our own bus driver, presumably,
Bus.
Correct.
We would own the bus.
and we would own the bus.
We have to purchase the bus.
Fine with the contract drivers getting it too.
Everybody down there is a negative on that, right?
We have two
As of
contracted drivers right now. Two contracted,
Is the
two
list that
owners of
you-
contracts right
Is
now.
the list you included in the packet, is that inclusive?
That's inclusive of the people who will be driving. There are two contracts. One of them is still looking for a driver.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so you're talking 12 at 500?
Yes. If you did all the routes, that would be 12,
Including the contract.
including the contract.
So would it go to the driver or to the contractor?
I'd have to go to the contractor in that instance.
See, that's the difference too.
So you guys still of the,
Still no.
still no? Okay, so sounds like we have a motion then without that.
I'd motion as to the other drivers, yes.
To our drivers.
Yeah, our drivers.
As it's written.
As written, basically. Nick's made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Gina with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, let's move on to miscellaneous business.
Yeah, and in case, before I forget, you should have a resolution on transfer from rainy day that's in your signature page that it should be included in your packet there somewhere. That's just for a signature, just in case it's not a, what's that? It's not in that, it's in my hand and I'm gonna pass it to you, but it's gonna be part of the signatures.
And
So
it is
if we
for,
need,
Rainy
it is
day
for
transfer that we approved.
rainy day transfer that's already approved, it's
Yeah,
just a
we
matter of
approved
signature.
last.
That's why your signature forms, thank you.
okay.
So I didn't wanna forget at the end, I needed to get out of my hands, so it's now into your hands. Miscellaneous business, you said.
Miscellaneous, let's start out with some new hires.
Yeah, Maisie Siddons, I'm recommending as Rockville Elementary teacher, she would be at level E. Alexis Malone, Turkey Run Elementary level, would be, Turkey Run Elementary teacher, level B. Chris Chobanoff, Park Heritage Middle School Science and Social Studies, level A. There was an English Language Arts position that was open, somebody's moved within there, so Jenna Noonan's gonna move into that position. And then, so the position that she was in was the Science Social Studies, so instead now Lisa's recommending that Chris Chobanoff be in that position. I'm losing my voice. And then finally, there's a sixth grade volleyball position for Tony Hampton there. Those are my additional personnel recommendations.
Okay, questions or comments on those recommendations? We have a motion to approve. Zach has made a motion.
Second.
Lise with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. The title waiver.
So there are a number of requirements associated with Title I, as you know, but there's one concerning standards for paraprofessionals. It has been almost impossible to find individuals with all of the paraprofessional qualifications that they require for Title I. Subsequently, there's an allowance for a waiver, and all I'm asking for is permission to complete that waiver and to let you know essentially that not all of our IAs have all the paraprofessional training that would be required to live up to that standard. We are not at all unique in this, but did want to bring it to your attention. Of course, we want to try to train our people as is appropriate, but in order to fill the spots, we need to be able to apply for the waiver.
What does this title, this
So Title I teachers.
paraprofessional training include?
Oh gosh. I can't tell you all of it. I could tell you all of it if you want me to go dig that up.
You don't need to tell me
Not
all
right
of
now,
it. I
but
was
I
just
mean,
kind
you know,
of
for like
the gist of it.
next, for the next meeting or something, I could. I don't know, Jenny, Lisa.
Okay. I was
Have we
curious.
done this before?
We have before.
Just never got it
It's
to
not-
us.
It's not a every year, so.
All right. If there are no other questions, do we have a motion to approve the title waiver?
So moved.
Zach has made the motion.
Second.
Mark with the second. All those in favor? 7-0.
I'll be able to thank you. I'll be able to take the minutes then and use them within the waiver. That's why it was important to try to get it today so that we can move forward with it.
Okay, the virtual handbook update.
Yeah, so as Amanda mentioned, she had met with Camilla Collier at the state, and there's a language update. We need the virtual handbook. I'll read that if you want, but it needs to now say students will participate in person in accordance with their individual learning plan. That's the ILP. Students in grades 6 to 12 are expected to engage in a minimum of 6 hours of instruction a day, 4 hours of curriculum instruction time, 2 hours of additional educational experiences. Students in kindergarten through grade 5 are expected to engage in a minimum of 5 hours of instruction a day, 3 hours of curriculum instruction time, 2 hours of additional educational experiences. Students' families are encouraged to exceed these minimum time requirements when needed to ensure mastery of grade level standards, completion of assignments, and continued academic growth. Scheduled in-person days will be determined based upon the individual student's ILP, individual learning plan. Any student who, and then in addition to that, any student who's absent from their scheduled curriculum for 10 consecutive days or 18 accumulative days will be withdrawn from the virtual program. So recommending that you approve those updates.
There are no questions, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion
Second.
by Gina. All those in favor? 7-0. All right, that's it from miscellaneous business. Move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Schiff.
Okay, so registration started up this week. It's too early to track all the numbers yet. I did have Rebecca start to drill down a little bit, but we've still got registrations coming in. I can't give you hard, fast numbers. I'll send those out as I have them though to you, so you have an idea what we're looking like. First teacher days are coming up for 26, 27, 4th and 5th. And first student day is August 6th. It's gonna be here before we know it, which then quickly makes a lot of people go, what about that Rockville Elementary project? Walk the halls again today. They look a lot different from yesterday. They look a lot different from last Friday. They look a lot different from the Monday before. There's a lot of progress happening. They're still telling me they're on time. There's a lot of work to be done. I understand they're gonna be there all weekend. This weekend, some trades will be there all weekend. They're gonna be working through Saturday the next week. Should all be together in time to have some parent night on August 5th, maybe, be what is advertised on the front sign. So that's the goal. Wayfinder is related to TransFinder for transportation. Amanda Brown's been putting a lot of time into going through individual bus routes. Thank the Lord, somebody really focused on that, so that's great. She's spending a lot of time, I think you got half of it done today. You said something about all the outgoing. Okay, so got a lot of progress on that. Obviously, we're waiting for those registrations all to get in. So that's coming in September is the plan. We'd like to get all the routes set in place before we disrupt it again and say, oh, by the way, we're gonna have you use these tablets and fobs and everything else. We wanna kind of get it moving first. Bus driver meeting is planned for July 29th. That will be all the regular route drivers. Wanted to give an update on the cafeteria transfer. It ended up only being $2,131.67 at the end of the school year. So again, we talked about there was a loss. It was only a couple $1,000s. Big picture, it was only a couple thousand. We moved to a vendor and we're increasing participation. So it's headed the right way. It's definitely headed the right way. And then looking ahead, I wanted to let you know the budget presentation is going to occur in September. Some years it's August, some years it's September. I want to move it. Last year was September. I want to say I want to stick with September this year. I'm going to have details on that at the August meeting too. So I'll give you some more details about the upcoming budget presentation in September. That's it for my report, unless you have any questions on any of those items.
Questions for Dr. Schiff? Anybody? All right. We'll move on to comments from the public. Who signed up to want to talk?
No one.
Mark?
do have a question, just a clarification on state paying for textbooks and such. I heard a couple things there that I didn't quite track everything. Do they not do it anymore? Do they control it in some different fashion?
There's an allocation that we get per student that
Okay.
we're supposed to set aside within the education fund.
Is that it, Mark?
Yeah.
Alright. Other questions? Alright, comments from the public is now closed. Our next regular meeting is going to be August 19th, Mark's birthday. It will be at 6 o'clock and be here. So if there's nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
School board meeting.